Well, let me say this.
I also wanted to say something too before we go any further, is that if you go back to, and this is talking to the point of the whole Christianity thing, okay? You're not Christians, people. You're Israel. You're the sons of Israel. You're the sons and daughters of Israel. And in Leviticus 26:39, we are supposed to ask forgiveness for our ancestors. You can't get there with Christianity teaching Jesus Christ. Go read 39, 40, 41, 42. Until we do that, until we ask forgiveness, admit our ancestors were wrong, and then ask forgiveness, it's not going to happen. He's not going to hear us. He's not going to pay attention. He doesn't care. He literally turns his back on us. So if you think that the Christian model of Jesus Christ superstar, is the way to go, you're wrong. You're being taught wrong. That's why we make these videos.
Sorry, what you were saying, Kurt, is exactly what Eric is saying. Because if you're not inside the fence, if your heart isn't surrendered, then, which is a picture of being inside the fence, then you're just not going to believe anything. I can remember when I was walking as a Catholic, many Christians came to me and said, Mark, you do this, you do that. And I said, get away from me. I know that the Pope is the first, that Peter was the first Pope. I know all this stuff. I've learned my catechism, and they couldn't approach me at all. But something happened in my life, and Yahweh touched me in a different way, and that's where I'm at now. So it takes something happening in your life, whether it's achieving a goal and finding out that there's nothing there, that your life is empty, or getting down into the dumps, and then Yahweh brings you to life again, to realize that there's so much more to life than the physical parts of our lives, the spiritual life. So unless you've got the spiritual, the physical, and the emotional working together, I'm sorry, it's just not going to work out for you. So what you were saying, Kurt, to me lines up exactly with what Eric is saying, that you have to be inside the fence.
So let me tell you how this ties into Genesis 6. So the concept of Genesis 6 that we're going to talk about today, which will be the next hour, is talking about as it was in the days of Noah. Okay, so how was it in the days of Noah? Well, one of the things it talks about Noah's generations and the names of the children that were born following Adam is in Genesis chapter 5. And so it's going to start with Genesis chapter 4, verse 26. And we'll start with that in the next hour. But let me just say this about Genesis chapter 5. Brad Scott said if you could read the 10 names of the fathers that were born Adam, Seth, Enosh, Canaan, Mahalalel, Yared, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, and then Noah, if you could read their names in Hebrew, it tells a story. Well, how did Brad get that? He might have done the translation, but I found that that's been talked about for hundreds of years, maybe going back even to the 1st century, if not going back, that the Jews know this because they look at the Hebrew language. It goes back thousands of years. So what you see in those first 10 names has to do with how do you translate those words. So we're going to talk about that real fast, just to say that sets up the days of Noah. If you look at the word Adam, Aleph, Dalet, Mem, Aleph, Dalet is translated as word vapor, Dalet, Mem is blood. But Dam, Dalet, Mem is not just blood, it's also silent, likeness. And Adam or Adamah is the word for land or earth. So here you have Adam meaning man, likeness, earth, silent, similar. Well, man was made in the image of Yahweh. Oh, he was made similar to Yahweh in some type of similarity. What similarity? Does Elohim have a head and arms and legs and a torso? He's a spirit without a body. So to say that man was made in the likeness of Elohim, does it mean a body of flesh? Not necessarily. Remember, when Yeshua was born, He came in the likeness of man, the flesh body of man, the pulp, the basar around the seed, as it were. The reason we're talking about this thing about the seed carrying the DNA, there's something about DNA. Well, the DNA is a program, like a computer program. It's the software that tells the structure of molecules how to build the body, but it's not the body. It's just a program. So if man is made in the likeness of Elohim, is that the software program, the consciousness, or is that the physique, the body, the flesh? When Yeshua came as the likeness of man, Ben Adam, son of Adam, he took on his form and likeness, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Yahuwah, our Elohim, has a body with a flesh, head and arms, and yet there's he was seen sitting on a throne and his train filled the temple. That was kind of a joke when I said it was like a train, but that's another story. We could talk about that later. Keep on track. What I'm saying is that what does Adam mean when it means likeness? If you look at the word Seth, which is Shin Tav, it means sit, set, placed, appointed, foundational, or to drink and get drunk. So somehow man's likeness was appointed. Enosh, Aleph Nun Vav Shin, which is Seth's son, which is talked about in Genesis 4:26, means people, mankind, or humanity, but it also means the purpose or function is to carry as a theme. To carry what as a theme? If we look back at the word Seth, Shin Tav, Shin can it be a prefix letter that means that which belongs to. What's Tav? Tav is a symbol. Tav is a mark, like a letter of the alphabet. It's something that indicates something else. Well, if you go back and to say man's likeness is appointed to carry a theme of what? The theme of the Tav? A silent likeness. That's Dalet Mem. A silent likeness. Sounds to me like a letter of the alphabet. What's a letter of the alphabet? A silent likeness. What's DNA? A silent likeness, which is only expressed once you've got the flesh around it. So at the core foundation, Shin Tav, man is created as a silent likeness of Elohim and given a mouth and given a brain and given arms and legs to carry the theme. That's the meaning of the first three words, Adam, Seth, and Enosh. And then Kuf Yod Nun Nun. Well, that's similar to Cain, which is Kuf Yod Nun. Kuf is to rise up, Yod is this hand, and Nun is this. So rise up and strike, which is what Cain did to Abel. But it's one who makes, one who fabricates, one who does things artificially, which is why I was going on about the word lie or fabricate or artificial. It's the meaning of the word Canaan here. Kainan, which is different than Canaan as in the land of Canaan. It's one who makes or spears or sings, a musician who uses strings. It's one who makes a nest. It's the word for zealous and jealous, to acquire something by making something. Mahalal, Mem He Lamed Lamed Aleph Lamed. Mem He Lamed is mixed or adulterated. He Lamed Lamed is to praise or to be foolish. The last two letters, Aleph Lamed, is Elohim. So I could put these together and look at the next word, Yod Resh Dalet, Jared or Yerad, and it means to descend, flow, brought down, removed. It's where you get the word Lord, Lamed Resh Dalet, which is to make a road, which is, how do you make a road? You clear things out, you smash things down, you pave it, you flatten it with a steamroller, dominate and subjugate. Yerad. Okay, so one who makes or fabricates to acquire something. To acquire what? Mem He Lamed Lamed Aleph Lamed Mehalel can mean the place of Elohim by dominating And then the next word, Enoch, means trained or educated, or your encampment, your amnesty graciously offered. Well, remember back in those days, we'll read about that the sons of Elohim, whoever they were, had carnal relations with the daughters of Adam, the daughters of men, and Nephilim were the result, which were these, the word Nephal is root of where you get the word paleo, but it also means the fallen ones. You could look back into this and say, well, wait a minute, to try to mix with Elohim, and is this a statement of man's attempt to try to aspire to the status of Elohim, similar to the Tower of Babel, where instead of mankind achieving a greater status like some kind of ascended master, he actually made some sort of genetic permutations of creating these giants which were evil and tore things apart, and mankind brought back upon himself this entire destruction. This looks to me like a statement, unlike the way that Brad Scott had talked about these 10 words. This looks like, in this state of mind, man was trying to pull himself up from being simply human and trying to aspire towards this Elohim status by messing with genetics, mixing and adulterating, which is with the word mem he lamed, thinking he's doing this wonderful thing, but he created this Nephilim, which brought the whole thing crashing down. And as a result, one came from heaven to earth. There would be the Yeshua model as a offer of amnesty, teaching and training. That's the word Enoch. And then this word Methuselah, Mem Tav Vav Shin Lamed Het, means to be removed on expedition, sent to you to the place. Lamech, Lamed Mem Kaf, means to you, or in a state of being beaten, stricken, and smitten, because you are poor, depressed, and lowly. And then the word Noach, which is comfort, Nun Het, a landing place, led, guided, and quietly. But then Noah's 3 sons, which were born before the flood, Shem, Ham, and Yafat, means place, name, renown. Ham means heat, warmth, and anger, and Yod Pe Tav means improved, beautiful, opened. It's where you get the word for pita bread, Pe Tav. So it's their warm place opened. So I could say, I can read in these first 10 that man was trying to aspire out of his earthly status into some sort of ascended, wise nature of Elohim, and he brought ruin upon himself and the earth. And as the inverse gesture of amnesty graciously offered, Yahweh himself came down to the place of man. How did he do that? Does that mean Yeshua is Elohim? That's a whole different question and a story that we've talked about, where Yeshua came from Elohim, but he didn't tell us to worship him as Elohim. He came down as Ben Adam, the son of man, with a face, with a flesh, to bring man teaching and comfort and amnesty to a place, a warm place of opening. Shem, Ham, Yafat. There's a story in the first 10 names, and there was something about that consciousness existing in the days of Noah. And I'd say that's really close to what we're talking about here now that we'll get into with the next hour. But what I'm saying is the idea that we've had at least 6,000 years of mankind trying to make this place better, and he's apparently done nothing but make it worse and worse and ruined it. And then Yahuwah has allowed us a teaching, a training Enoch, whereby he reaches into our world to provide that bridge, that vav across the moat, to bring us into his encampment, his chen, chet nun, as a place of comfort, nun chet. That's what this language is. So to to be able to see this language as Yahuwah's ark, as it were, Noah's ark. This language somehow is a place of respite, of comfort, of refuge from the insanity of all the various voices and doctrines and religions and politics and lies of everywhere else. I'm not looking to a religion, a rabbi, a preacher, a prophet. I'm not looking to anybody. I'm looking at and saying, look at Yahuwah gave us his words. And there's something in that which is a wonderful, beautiful place. Once he opens up that chet and we can step in and see this whole other world, it's like literally stepping into another dimension as you ponder just looking at the letters, which is why Guylaine was saying last week, is sometimes it's like, don't even bother translating it. Just stare at the letters and read them for what they are, you might say, at their own face value, because they'll speak to you from themselves without even having to translate it into your language. That's why we're doing this. Okay, anyway, before you make the break, is there anything that any of you all have that you want to say about that? You have to turn your mics back on.
I like what you're saying, and I'm thinking about that. So somebody could do a paleo study and not want to translate it, just study the letters and let them speak and marinate, and teach you along your studying paleo. And that's like the inside of the bed. And then the outside, the more public part of the bed would be the more dictionary study, that sort of thing. That's what I'm getting from. Which
is the seed model. Like the bed is drawn like that tight little, that's the brain, that's the DNA, that's the place of the seed. And then it unfurls as it opens up, like that acorn that opened up and was feeding until it could place down into the roots. And so if you look at, I'm just trying to tie this together, you go back to Genesis 2, nothing had sprouted yet. So he at least invented seed life. So in DNA, the DNA of the seed that has the potential of everything being this wonderful paradise is what he made on day 3. And that's a picture of Shavuot, which is what we'll get to in a few minutes here in the next video. Shavuot lining up with the third Moed with the letters Mem and Nun, which lines up with us pondering memming, and that birthed from that memming is this Nun coming out. These pictures all it's a fractal pattern. It just keeps replaying over and over. And when you see it, your job is to do the memming so that you become the Nun. It's not like get one of those and put them on your shelf or learn that so you can say you have a diploma. It's like, no, you will become as you ponder these matters of his word.
Like you and I brought this up. You and I brought this up before, and people, some people are computers. Seems like Tim's a computer guy. These letters of the alphabet are a zip file, and everything's compacted.
Exactly.
And you unzip it. People have had the experience that maybe they've had to compress a file, send it in an email, and you get on the other side, and it expands. And stuff just keeps coming out. That's what these letters are. That's how I see them. But my mind works in technology more than it does. I've never grown anything.
So Darcy or Debbie, do you have anything that you wanted to say about this before we go on to the next hour?
I'm just soaking everything in that I can. I'm just making notes. It's all a big learning curve for me. And I'm enjoying it.
Is it comprehensible? Is there anything which sounds ungraspable?
No, you have a good way of explaining it. And you relate it to scripture, and it's making sense. It's just something I wish I would have known a lot sooner. I wish I would have come across this earlier in life.
Well, the interesting about that, I remember someone told me a few years ago, look, he's in his 60s and it's too late for him. And it's like, no, wait a second. This has all been kept hidden by himself until now. So it wasn't even offered till now. So we're all in perfect timing. It's not too late. I wasted all those years. It's like, no, it wasn't even available. This is now. This is present tense. So we're all in good step and good timing. This is the reality of the present.
Moses was 80 years old when he started. So there you go.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but thank you for putting it out there so that we can learn from it. And we can share with other people too.
Amen.
It seems to be a trend, people in their when you get to your 50s or close to, this
Mhm.
starts seeming interesting now. And
Yeah, it's funny how
Or
that
your
works.
40s or 50s. Yeah.
yeah, you're close enough.
Well,
Mhm.
just to say about that, when I mentioned Genesis 4:26, it
Mhm.
says, by Seth also he birthed a son and called his name Enosh. And that word Enosh literally means carrier, theme, thesis, or containing a subject. The word Aleph is Aleph Nun Vav Shin, and Aleph Nun means to bring about, happen. It can mean to deceive, but something happened containing a subject. Well, we're realizing that each one of these letters contain a subject, a theme, each one are a zip file. Though we're talking about the exact same thing as the meaning of the word Enosh, the third generation born. And then the very next phrase in this sentence of 426 says, Aleph Zion, which means then at that time, He Vav Het Lamed. There's that word Het Lamed. Now, the thing about Het Lamed, using the dictionary, you can look at Het Lamed Hey, Het Lamed Het Lamed, Het Lamed Lamed, Het Vav Lamed, Het Yod Lamed, and Hey Het Lamed, which we'll find in verse 1 of Genesis 6. It's all the same word which are different derivatives. And it means, this is from Ezekiel 36:23, to make hollow, pierced, wounded, to drain something out, play the flute, it's outer space, the flute is hollow and has holes in it, which is a picture of Yeshua being crucified. It means to secularize or make profane, common, but also where we get the word challah bread, which means sweet and pleasant, and the hula dance. The hula dance, which has to do with sand and the phoenix bird. All that is the same thing. So then it says, then at that time, it became common, lakra, to call Beshem Yahuwah. It became common to call on the name of Yahweh. But then we find out later that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob didn't even refer to him as Yahuwah. It was El Shaddai. But maybe that was a statement. Maybe that was a question, rhetorical question. But you could also say that then at that time, people began to profane calling on the name of Yahweh. So here we are, and we'll end with this concept to go on to the next hour. After 2,300 years, since 285 BC, approximately, in the days of Ptolemy II, who authorized the writing of the Septuagint, called Septuagint because it means 70, which has to do with the 70 Hebrew scholars who translated the scriptures into Greek and took out the name Yahuwah for 2,300 years until 2015 approximately. And here we are, never having common access to the name of Yahweh. The name of Yahweh, not just how to pronounce the four letters of the tetragrammaton, meaning four-letter grammar, four graphics. It's a Greek way of reading that. But the name of Yahweh being the meaning of the 22 letters, meaning his name, fame, renown, reputation, his place, the occupation of all his concerns, which is the way to read these words and letters, the Eryctology, the Paleo-Hebrew, that it was common or that it became secularized. The reason why the Jews historically have kept the name inutterable, unmentionable, is because they were trying to protect it from becoming profanated, violated, punched holes in, dragged through the street. The Assyrians called the Samaritans, when they took them into captivity from the northern kingdom, they called them Yahoos because of their Yahuwah, name of their Elohim. So here, this is the trouble. When you make something known, other people will mock it. Other people will distort it. Other people will ruin it. Other people will profane it. That's Chet Lamed. But by making it common so that we can all call on the name of Yahuwah with one shoulder, that's in Zephaniah 3:8 and 9. restoring the pure language, the clean lip, restoring the ability for us to get back into favor with Yahweh by making his ways known. And the dilemma is, at the same time, you risk the distortion and the profanity. But this verse can be read both ways, and there's no way to know, did they make common like that so people could call on the name of Yahweh? Remember what Yahweh said, whoever calls on the name of Yahuwah will be saved. He never said whoever calls on the name of Jesus will be saved. In King James, whoever calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. And they say, well, Jesus is the Lord and Yahweh is the Lord, so it's one and the same. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. So how do you take this verse? But nevertheless, we're in the midst of doing the very same thing, which is why we're starting with Genesis 4:26. Here it is, just like the days of Enosh, carrying a subject, we're realizing every one of these 22 letters is a zip file, and that the Torah is not just 613 laws, it's walking in the ways, the DNA of Yahuwah that we are making common through these videos, as is many other people on the internet. Thank Todah Yahweh. Then at that time, well, that's here and now. So here we go. Anyway, ready for the next hour, unless somebody else has something they want to say.